All right, let's get this going. Excuse me, do a quick little tweet. See if I can't maybe encourage some random people to wander by and encounter the wonders and joys of game development. So today I'm going to be taking a look at some basic gameplay stuff. Nothing particularly in depth. Again, I got to keep everything within Playmaker because, as I've stated in the previous stream, this is primarily from a Game 105 students. So I am limited to using just Playmaker for any logic needs. I'm not allowed to touch C# or anything else, for that matter, in terms of gameplay mechanics. Let's see here. One last place I want to chat about. Let's see here. Let's see here. I might actually get yelled at slightly for this one because it has been a while since I have actually participated in Kenny's area, but there we go. And there we go. That was weird. My music hitched on me. Alright, as enough advertising and such. Let's get this on the road. Minimize that window. Let's see here. Turn off the cat, sadly, as adorable as the cat is. And then let us begin. So the state of the project, we have our little chicken collector. Oops, I need to get those windows back over here because they can't, doesn't do me much good to have windows on the other monitor when I am streaming / recording. Oh, and speaking of recording, start recording. There we go. So I can upload this to Yuja as well. So the state of the project. We have our little knight here, and our goal is to find chickens. And as I was going through and testing it on stream the other day, came to the conclusion that if I had to walk at this pace right here to grab all the different chickens, it would be horrible. So implemented the run mechanic. I did off camera implement some animation, so that way when you do the sprint, when you press and hold the shift key to sprint, you switch to the sprint animation. And this will make it far more interesting for the player navigating around. Now, of course, we need to give some visual feedback to the player as I run into a tree. We need to give some visual feedback to the player. Just simply not knowing what our stamina level is not okay. And so we need to get some UI in here. Now, I'm not going to go into too much depth here on the details of the UI system. I'm going to describe what I'm doing, of course, but I'm not going to go into detail. I've got videos on the YouTube channel dealing with the whole relative versus absolute positioning, etc., when it comes to UI elements. At its core, what I want to do is a bar that's going to decrease and increase. And again, I don't know why I gesture with my hands when I don't have a web camera. Habit, I suppose. And the best way to, or at least the easiest way, I shouldn't say the best, the easiest way of doing something like that is to use an image. And let's see here. Let's hide everything except for the canvas. There we go. So I can use an image. Specifically, you have to have a source image, and I am just going to show this real quick. If I set a source image, I'm just going to choose something random. Actually, no, I do not want to scale that. I want to move it. So here we go. We have our image, and I'm going to change the image type from sliced to filled. And I'll set the fill method to horizontal, and oh hey, look at that. That is exactly the behavior that I want in a progress bar. And I definitely need a different image than that, though. So let's deal with that. Thankfully, that is a simple matter. Do I have a sprite? Okay, I guess this would be the first sprite I have created. It's a simple matter of, in this particular case, of using the built-in sprites. Now, if I was really wanting to go all out on this, I would create some kind of custom UI element that had the appropriate mask set on it, so that way you could see the fills underneath it, so on and so forth. But in this particular case, I'm just going to have an unadorned rectangle for simplicity's sake. Obviously, you do not have to have... there you go. A folder called sprites to put sprites in. I just like keeping everything organized. So I'm going to right-click, create, and there we go. Sprites. I'm going to create a square sprite. Call it white square, and plonk it into this. There we go. Got a white square. Now the key here is that I'm going to want to have two of these. So I am going to take this image and duplicate it, and I am going to parent them up, and I'm going to set the background to red. And so how this works is on this lower one, I'll adjust the fill amount, which you can see gives me the illusion of filling, decreasing, however I want to handle this. And actually probably what I will do is have this set to a green color and have this set to a black, because I don't want to do red on green. That color blindness, just don't want to mess with people like that. And so now, oops, nope, that's not what I do. So as the player runs, stamina will go down. They stop running, goes back up. So I'm going to rename a couple of things here to make this more logical. So this is the background. Actually, stamina bar background. And this stamina bar fill. And I'm going to change the stamina bar fill to anchor to its parent. So that way, all I have to do is worry about modifying this, and let's say, I'll have that anchored in the top left-hand corner, and I will set this relative to 50% of the screen. And let's just take a quick peek, see how that's going to look. A little large and obvious, so let's pull that down. In size a bit. That's a bit better. Now we just got to add in a little bit of logic to it. I'm starting to accumulate quite the collection of state machines on the hero here. I just got to make sure that wherever this is, it makes sense. And there's a couple of ways I could approach this. I could actually put the state machine on the stamina bar itself. Or I could continue to just keep all the relevant state machines on the hero. 6 of one, half dozen of another. I personally prefer to keep as much as possible on as few game objects as possible, just to help me keep track of what's going on. There's definitely cons to that approach, but given how scatterbrained I can be, the advantage of having everything on a singular game object usually outweighs those cons for me personally. This is one of those areas where whatever makes the most sense to you is what you should do. And welcome to whoever it is that just joined us. So I am going to add on a new state machine here, which means I do need to be modifying the prefab. So let's open up the hero prefab. Let's add another state machine, yet another one. Because there are some other UI control type things that I will be doing here. Do my usual setup state. All right, so what do I need to do here? Well, the first thing that I need to do is I need to figure out what is the percentage of stamina that I currently have. Because if you let me go back, get off of the prefab editing here for a moment. Here we go. Excuse me. So I have this fill amount here, and it goes from 0 to 1. So basically a percentage. So I need to be able to express my stamina in terms of a range of 0 to 1. Simple enough. I just need to divide my current stamina by my max stamina. So I'm going to need to grab those two pieces of information. Let's come back over here, go back into our UI. So I am going to need to get floats from another state machine. So get FSM float. I will use owner. I will grab these from sprint, because sprint is where I put that. So I'm going to grab a max stamina and I will store it in max stamina. I will also duplicate that and I will grab stamina and store that in stamina. I will do a float operator and I will divide stamina by max stamina. So stamina, max stamina, divide, and I will store that into fill amount. And now I am able to use this to set, well, the fill. Again, with Playmaker, the best bet, if you don't know what the action is, you just start typing in like the property that you're trying to manipulate, see if there's an action for it. Thankfully, there is UI image, set fill amount. Now, this time I'm going to have to choose something different here. I can't use owner because, well, the owner doesn't have a UI component. And here we run into a teensy bit of a problem because this is on a prefab. So I can't hook this up at edit time because I'm working in a prefab. So we do need to think a little bit here as to how exactly we want to handle this. I'm going to have to use a variable. So I am going to switch this to a new variable. To stamina fill. And I will set this to fill amount. So that's simple enough. Now, for organizational purposes here, I am going to want to have more than one update state here because I just don't want to have too much in one state. Again, organizational, this is a personal preference. So this is all that I need to do, assuming that we figure out this little hiccup right here. This is all I need to do for the stamina bar. So I get my max stamina, I get my stamina, divide stamina by max stamina, and set the appropriate fill amount. Okay, great. Done. Put in a finished transition. Put in a wait for frame here. Toss in a next frame event, which will cycle back. Again, this, for what I have right now, is overkill. I could just simply check the every frame box in all of these. But I'm going to have more UI later on that I know I'm going to want to split out into multiple boxes, which will eventually link back into this wait for frame. So I am setting this up for the future. Now we need to figure out how are we going to handle this. There's a couple of different ways. I could find it. I could search for it. I could potentially make the canvas part of the character's prefab, so that way I do in fact have that reference available to me right now. But the simplest and most straightforward way is to just simply expose this variable, stamina fill. I'm going to expose it in the inspector. This is the most direct and simplest method. Which I would argue, especially if you are new to game creation, is how you should approach things. Go for the most direct option. Do not worry about elegance. Elegance is pretty much something that no one should worry about unless you're writing an API for other people to use. Then worry about elegance. Otherwise, kick it to the curb. You don't need it. So let's test. I'm going to make sure this is saved. I'm going to back out of this. So I am going to select the hero. And I'm going to come over here. Here's my UI. Here's my controls. Excellent. There's my stamina fill, exposed exactly like I need it to be. And I can link it up in the scene. Is there more work for me to do? Yes. Is this a potential failure point if I forget to link this up? Yes. But it's simple, it's direct, it's easy. And in my opinion, that makes it a perfectly valid solution. So let's see if, yep, okay. It's going down. I release. All right, and excellent. Now we could obviously pretty this up quite a bit. Also, I find it amusing that I can be in midair and then start sprinting. Something to fix if I was going to bring this forward. But now I've got a good visual way of seeing how much stamina I have, when am I getting close to max, so I know when I can start sprinting again to maximize the amount of time I'm actually sprinting. And I got a basic UI system set up. Now, I did think of something else. Let me go ahead and toggle everything back on here. As I wanted to try to give the... Well... So, reset my thoughts here, because I had about 5 of them trying to go through at the same time. Doesn't work that way. I can only say one thing at a time. So the next step here is I need to get the chickens done. I have been distracted enough, and this is something that you really need to watch out for when it comes to game development. Do not permit yourself to get constantly distracted, or you will be like Star Citizen and just constantly reinvent and add and change and reinvent and add and change, or Duke Nukem Forever, or insert game that take way too gosh darn long to make here. I keep coming up with new ideas. So the current idea, the newest idea that I came up with, besides not fully finishing my little mechanic where as soon as you release the shift key from sprinting, if you left click within a certain time frame, you'll get like a little bonus, like a little mini game that you can play. I still haven't implemented that. I also thought up, you know what, it also would probably be great, maybe if I gave the player less stamina to start with, but I scattered these little fruit baskets everywhere for the player to be able to pick up and increase their maximum stamina. That would give the player something else to do besides just collect chickens. But I'm taking myself further and further and further and further away from the focus here, which is a very simple level where I have a very simple goal to achieve with a very simple threat. Don't fall in the water and get the level reset on yourself. That's it. All I am trying to do is I am trying to fill in the checkboxes on this list. Which, I got some here, all here. Correct collision behavior, yeah, I won't check that one off until I have everything in. But so far, this is okay-ish. So maybe I can put a slash... okay, keyboard. What did I turn on? I'll have to figure that out later. Yes, here. Nope. I don't have goals yet, so I have some collision behavior, so I'll put half a slash there. I do actually have UI now, so I can check that off. I have the background music track. I just haven't implemented it yet. That might be something I do tonight. That's an easy thing to do. So I've got all of that. I've got the main menu. It's like, you know what? I'm almost done. All I have to do is get my chickens in, so that way I can check this off, and so I can check off the goal element here, and I'm done. I still have lots of room to improve, but I don't want to stray from this focus, and this is why you do something like this. This is why you make a list like this. So, chickens. 4 chickens. Got the cubes placed where I want them to be, and the idea is that each chicken is going to be brought over here. Now, I am going to brute force this a little bit. I could come up with some clever little solution where I have just an abstract chicken and I can arbitrarily create chickens and place them in here and yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, I am going to brute force the everlasting hell out of this. So I am going to rename you. Chicken saved 1. And I am going to duplicate you out. And now, of course, you know, obviously if I move the chickens. Oh, hello. Swap chain? Yeah, well, Unity crash. That was lovely. And I haven't saved recently, so that means all of the UI element stuff just went poof. This is why I usually have a script running that saves every time I hit the play button, but you know what? It happens. So, while I fix this, let me get the cat back up here for a moment. Now I'll bring this back up, and I guess I'll just re-implement the UI. Now, the prefab should still have its information. But I will have to recreate some stuff. Alright, so that is done. Let's turn the cat back off. Nothing like crashing in front of people. And if anyone watching this has questions, feel free to toss any questions you got into the chat. I will do my best to keep an eye on that. Okay, so if I go into prefabs, if Unity behaves the way I expect it to behave, I have my UI control set up, and my variable is properly set up. Okay, so the only thing that I have to do then is recreate my UI. Yep. Yeah, well, let's do that then. And I should still have my sprite because that is an asset. Yes, it is. Okay. So UI, image, duplicate, parent, U, stamina bar, background, stamina bar fill, U will be black. You need to have the sprite assigned, and I want you to be a dark green, and you are filled horizontal. Okay. And I want you anchored to your parent. Switch back over to the parent. You will be anchored in the upper left to 50%. Save my scene. And I gotta link it up. So, hero, controls, there it is, stamina fill. Okay, that has been fixed. Now, chickens. Back to the original topic. So the idea is that I will plop the chicken and their nav points in here. So I am going to have, let's tidy up my scene here a little bit. Let's drag nav points down to the bottom and drag our chicken down here to the bottom as well. Like I said, I'm going to brute force this. So the way the chickens work is that the chicken randomly chooses between everything that has a specific tag to navigate towards. So what I'm going to do is in my tags and layers, which I've already done, I have chicken nav 1, 2, 3, 4. Slightly out of order because I wasn't paying attention. So I have chicken nav 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I can do here is this becomes chicken saved 1. Chicken 1 nav points. And I will assign all of these nav points the tag chicken nav 1. Now before I go any further, as I now reflexively hit Control S like every 5 minutes, I want to make sure that I haven't broken anything, and oh dear, it does look like I broke something. Where? Oh, right, because I didn't tell the chicken to use the appropriate tag here. And that's also, by the way, why anytime you do any kind of refactoring, you always check to make sure your refactoring didn't break something. And okay, now I can see that my saved chicken is behaving correctly. So what I can do now, duplicate my chickens, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Chicken saved. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can go through and change their nav. So you are chicken 2, so you're looking for nav 2. You are looking for nav 3. And you, my friend, are looking for nav 4. And now, come back over here to scene, and let's get my chickens separated. Now I can come through here and duplicate the nav points. Oops, that's not quite what I meant to do. And I am also going to have to act fiddly. Go there. I'll leave it alone. So I am going to want to tweak the nav points a little bit here just to make sure they make sense. And then, of course, I need to set the tag to chicken nav 2. Duplicate it again. This is, of course, chicken nav 3. Now, the chickens are going to intersect and walk through each other. But without using some techniques that I can't use, again, due to the content not being presented in the class that I am teaching, there's not much I can do about that, actually. I would really have to use the nav mesh, and so to use the built-in Unity obstacle avoidance, which it works mostly. I would have to do that to really properly fix the chickens here. And one last duplication. You are chicken nav 4. There we go. And what I should see, if I run this now, is I should have apparently I've got some broken nav points because I'm pretty sure I just saw one of my chickens disappear on me. Oh, there he goes. Yep, I have a broken nav point. And this is why I wanted to come here and look at my chickens to see if there was any glaringly obvious nav point differences, which I believe I can solve this quite handily. Well, this also works, so yeah. Nav point 1, you need to go up to contact, and you, my friend, also need to be on the ground. Yep, and that looks good. So now I have all of my rescued chickens. So what I can do is whenever the player comes over here and touches this area, goes into the fence area here, I can rescue a chicken. So I can turn the chickens off. There we go. So I can come through here and disable the chicken game objects. Now I need to go through and replace all of these cubes with just static chickens. Now, I do not remember what... Oops, I'm missing the colon. If any... Okay, there is a Toon Chicken controller. Which is just cycling through and... Oh, no, it's not cycling through. It actually is just set up to turn it on and off. I think... You know what, I will just modify this so that there is no... So here has exit time and has exit time with no... So that means what should happen, let me just put a chicken over here to easily see and test, is that this chicken should now just stay in place, look around, do its idle. That will serve for the moment. Now, what I'm going to do... Where are you? Tune chicken. Okay. Let's go into prefabs, because I'm going to want a prefab for this. Let's rename this. To a rescue chicken. I've already modified its controller. Let's add a sphere collider. Yep, that'll work fine. We don't need the player to get right up touching, so that should work well enough. And we'll set this as a trigger. And then that is all the chicken really needs. So I want an original prefab. So let's create a new prefab out of this. So we now have the rescue chicken. And now we need to open up the character prefab and take a look at game logic here. I need a new trigger event. Oh, and I need define a new trigger for that matter, or at least a new tag. So I'm using tags to filter things, and I do not have a tag. Well, I've got this pickup tag. Let's rename this. I don't really like that. So let's remove it. And let's add in rescue chicken. Because all chickens need to be rescued. And I can, while I'm thinking of it, and actually, let's rename this. Rename to Save Chicken, so that way there's a little bit clearer on my prefab names here. And I do need to make sure I set this chicken to be tagged as a rescue chicken, so that way the logic is going to work correctly. Okay, let's open up the hero again. Go back into our game logic. And the collider tag that I want to filter by is rescue chicken. And if that happens, I want a new event. I need to rescue a chicken. Now this time I do need to store the collider because I want to pick up, air quotes, the chicken, which means I need to destroy that game object. So this will be a new variable. Target chicken. So let's add in a transition here. Now, I want the player to have to go back with each chicken. I don't want the player just to be able to run around, collect all the chickens, and then just dump them in all at once. You can only carry one chicken at a time. So I do need a variable here. Check to see if I'm already carrying a chicken. So I'm going to have a state, can get chicken. And I will... That's not the button I meant to click on. So I'm going to do a bool test here. I'm going to do a new variable. And I'm going to test. Do I have a chicken? Well, if I already have a chicken, then I'm done here. There's nothing else for me to do. Otherwise, I can continue rescuing a chicken. So now I'll actually get the chicken. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will set let's see here. Animator, debug, logic. Set Boolean value under math of all places. Okay, so set Boolean variable. I'm going to set has chicken to true. And I am going to destroy the chicken that I touched. And then come back up here for triggers. So to test this, oops, nope. I need to put another rescue chicken in there. So I got 2 rescue chickens. I should be able to touch one, have it disappear. But I should not be able to make the other one disappear. Excellent. Now, this logic is going to be a little bit trickier. So I am going to create an empty game object here. And actually, I need to... Let's create an empty game object. Again, keep things organized because it just keeps creeping up there. And this will be chickens. Also, I apparently cannot spell. So I'm going to create an empty game object. I am going to add a sphere collider to that. And it's not quite a perfect fit, but it is close enough. This will be the chicken drop-off. this needs to be a trigger, and I'm going to need a custom tag for this as well. So going back into the project settings, do not be afraid to use a bunch of tags. You pretty much don't have a limit on them. This will be called the chicken drop. And make sure that you are tagged correctly. Now, save my scene because I am paranoid now after crashing once already. Open up the hero prefab again. And let's go over to our logic. And see here, copy that transition. Now this time, my collide tag will be chicken drop. And I have no need to store the collider. And I'll do a new event. Drop off chicken. Well, again, I need to ask the question, do I actually have a chicken to drop off? So I'll be using the Boolean test here again. Only this time, it's reversed. If the has chicken is true, well, then I continue on. Otherwise, there's nothing here for me to do. Now, dropping off the chicken, that's going to be a little bit more interesting. I'm going to have to think about this one. It's like, okay, I've got 4 different chickens. So how am I going to keep track of which chicken to turn on? Now, one possible way that I could do this is I could store like a number, an ID on the rescue chickens. I could brute force it some more and create unique prefabs for all of them and try to do something with that. In this particular case, I'm just going to go with an array because those are important for game development. You know, having the ability to have a list of things that you step through or iterate through is a very important thing to understand when it comes to game development. So I'm going to come over here. I've got 2 things. First, I am going to create an integer that I am going to call chicken count, which will default to 0. And I'm going to create an array called the chicken list. And this will be an array of game objects. Specifically, it's going to be an array of 4 game objects that I expose in the inspector. And so just like I did with the fill target, I'm going to link these in. I'm going to link these up in the inspector in the scene because I can't do it here in the prefab. I can still put in the logic as if these were hooked up. So what I'm going to do in state 1, first I am going to set the bool. So I no longer have a chicken because I've dropped it off, right? So has chicken is now false, unchecked. I am going to use array get. I will get from the chicken list the chicken count, or I guess chicken index. That would actually be a better, instead of chicken count, chicken index. I like that variable name better. Bit more traditional with the variable name. Bit more traditional. So I am going to, from the chicken list, get the chicken index. And I am going to store that in target chicken. Yeah, I'm reusing the variable, but that's fine. I can't be in both at the same time. Now, normally it's probably a good idea to put an index out of range, but as long as I don't put more rescue chickens in the scene than I have saved chickens, I'm fine. But it is worth considering. And what I am going to do here is I am going to activate game object. I'm going to specify, using a variable, the target chicken. And so that will activate it. The recursive, I'm not actually going to check that. But that says I go through and activate all of its children as well, which in this particular case I don't need. I just need to activate it once. And then I need to hold on one moment. Let's see here. I need to take care of something real quick. Okay. Sorry about that brief little hiccup. And let's see here. So yeah. And then the final thing that I need to do, which is very important, I need to add one to my chicken index. So I am going to use the int add. And I am going to add one to chicken index. Now I do not want to check that every frame right here. Because this is not a frame-dependent operation. I am adding one to my index variable. And once I'm done with all that, I can go back here and resume looking for triggers. Now, assuming that I haven't fat-fingered something, I should be able to test with my two little chickens here. So I pick him up, can't pick him up, walk over here, and no chicken appears, so why not? So let's look at our game logic. And let's look at the status of our variable. Oh, that's... remember when I said that having to link things up in the editor is a point to failure? Yeah, I guess we just had a point to failure. So I do need, on the hero here, no, not sprint. Sprint's not the one I am looking for right now. It is game logic. Here we go. I need to link these up. So, chickens... Chicken saved 1. Chicken saved 2. Chicken saved 3. Chicken saved 4. Now I can test it. Pick up a chicken. And still not drop off a chicken. What? Okay. Hero, playmaker, game logic. Okay, so has chicken is true. All right. Let's see here. Well, let's yoink this down here. Now, when I walk across this chicken, I should, see it briefly pulse. Okay, that's fine. And I am getting a pulse, but I am not being detected as having a chicken, it looks like. So, oh, yes. That certainly shouldn't be a thing. All right, so can... Okay, I'm not entirely sure what happened right there. Did I delete the wrong... Let's can get chicken 2. Alright, well, it looks like I just linked the wrong thing. That's okay. Not entirely sure what happened there. Alright, so if I have a chicken and that is true, then I can drop off the chicken. Otherwise, it is false, and I will not drop off the chicken. Okay. And let's watch our pulses. I come through here, pulse all the way through. Excellent. Pulse all the way through. Okay, good. Apparently, I just really fat-fingered something. All right, I was able to pick up the second chicken. Looks like I need to adjust the size because these chickens are... Apparently, my chickens get bigger when they go into the pin. Excellent. The logic works. So all I need to do at this point is go around and replace all of my cubes with chickens. Which, that is something I will do off screen because it's getting a little bit late. I've been going on for this for about an hour. And so I believe this is a good stopping point. So the next time I come back to take a look at this, I will take a look at putting in the background music, putting in a pickup effect and a drop-off effect, sound effect for picking up and dropping off the chickens. And then it'll be time to work on the menu system. So, thank you very much to anyone and everyone who showed up to listen to this. If you found it useful, either on the live version or on the VOD version, thumbs up would be appreciated. And if you thought this was a complete waste of your time, well, dislike button's right next to it. Have a good night, everyone, and I will talk